Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metaverse Live. I think what we're going to have, it's coming to you from the World War II Memorial Park, and we will just, you can see in the background behind us, and I think probably camera will take you out there, a plethora of planes flying over the Memorial Park right this minute. They look fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, you can cam out behind us between our wonderful guests and our wonderful hosts, and have a look at all the planes behind us doing a fly past, and that will give you some clue as to our subject later on today. Now, I am going to, whilst the planes are still on the bypass there, on the fly past there, and it's very redolent of what's going to be happening in the UK in the next few weeks, because we have the Queen's Jubilee on June the 3rd, and it's going to be massive. But anyway, I'm terribly excited because I am in London. So, without any more ado, I'm going to come first to Mal Burns-Reiter, who's one of our regular hosts of this programme. Hello, Mal Burns.
Hi, Dousa. You're looking wonderful, and good to be back. Good to be back. And I indeed am in London, so yeah, we're looking forward to all this stuff coming up.
I think actually I might have to do some streaming from my roof and see what we can broadcast on Metaverse Live of the Diamond Jubilee. Next, I'm going to go to Sigmund Leominster, who's our transatlantic, mid-Atlantic host. Hi, Sigmund. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, Dousa. It's just good to be back in the studio live. And as you said there, I'm not in London. I'm not even in the country. So anything I get to see will have to be over the television. So I'll be keeping an eye over the next few weeks for the Jubilee stuff that's happening.
And we've got quite a sort of, what's the word I want, UK-centric lineup today, because we've got with us today Jessie 2009 Warrhol of now what do we call you, Jessie?
And calling me Jessie's, Jessie's just fine, basically. Whatever.
I'm seeing over your head military expo manager, and we'll be coming to that later, won't we?
Of course, right.
Because part of the reason for us being here is the organisation that Jessie and others have done here today. And we have got our other host, our other panellist tonight is actually the Vickster Kuhn here, Vickster 67, otherwise known as Vicky, I believe. Now, she can't speak right now because she is flying in the flypast, but she will be TPing into the studio, looking very dashing indeed. And so, anyway, I can't speak tonight. It's been overexciting and I've had too much coffee. So I apologize to our audience right now. Basically, we are talking, first of all, today about, before we come and talk about the World War II thing, and I am terribly excited because there's other stuff we're going to be doing with the planes and what have you later on. We're going to talk about what's been happening all weekend to Marketplace. And I'm going to bring in Mal Burns-Reiter to tell us about it.
I thought that plane was going to blow me wig off for a minute. Right. Yes, for here in Second Life where we filmed this, Linden Labs, the proprietors, have a thing called the Second Life Marketplace, where you can actually buy things that you might want in world from a website. And they've been experimenting with a very peculiar thing called direct delivery, which has been on one of their beta grids for some time, and apparently it was all working satisfactorily. And then about a week ago, they moved it onto the main grid here, and everything promptly broke. It doesn't work, basically. I'm not really sure the exact details. I haven't really done much shopping. I did shop for something on the Linden Marketplace about a week ago, and it did arrive safely. But the viewer I'm in actually doesn't show me any particular direct delivery business at the moment. So I can't really tell you much more than that, but it does seem to be another example of something that's been hastily implemented and is not quite functioning as it should be. Rather like my costume change when I came on stage today.
I see, that's bothering you, is it?
Well, I haven't been able to change out of this very nice outfit, but it's not quite the one for this show, is it?
Oh, I don't know. Looks all right to me.
Okay.
And it's, it's in respect to your great age, Mal Burns. So, Sigmund, I'm going to bring you in here while Jessie has time to collect her thoughts on this. Have you noticed anything about Marketplace? Because I've been noticing a lot of carry-on in the groups.
It's interesting you mentioned that this was all happening at the weekend. And, of course, this weekend I happened not to be doing anything at all Second Life related, so of course it passes me by. But this comes back a little bit to what the marketplace is about, and I think how people use it. Because to be quite frank, I rarely use it to shop. I do most of my shopping in World itself because I find the sort of the fun of hopping around from place to place to find things part of what makes Second Life entertaining. So I'm not always there, and whatever was happening at the weekend didn't affect me, but that would also be because I rarely go in there. I guess the other times I would go to the marketplace is if I'm researching something and I'm looking for something particular, or I just want to take a look at stuff, but then if I find what I want, I hop in World and go to the store or find some way of doing it. So part of this reflects what do people do with the marketplace and how do they use it. And I think some people maybe use it an awful lot. Other people like me maybe don't use it as much as people would think. I think shopping in World, again, to me is a fun thing to do.
Okay, well, look, I'll tell you a bit about what's been going on that I've seen in the groups over the weekend. Number one, I find it a complete mystery why Linden Labs chooses to do anything that is going to have to bring the product makers, the content creators, and the suppliers, if you like, to do anything over the weekend. So basically, if you tried to search in Marketplace, it was impossible. I put in the word yacht, just because I like to do that every now and again, right? And absolutely nothing came. The only thing that came up was a ship's buoy, a buoy, or some people call it, right? And that was literally the only thing that came up. In fact, there was only one content creator's stuff came up at all for anything. And that was a steampunk creator, and well done you for managing to get that out there. As far as I understand it, what has happened is they have to take them out of boxes and upload through. And if I look into my little objects thing right now, what it's got, if I go down to my inventory, if I go down to the bottom of the inventory and I go plus, it's, no, see, I've lost it even now. No, I go up to me in viewer 3, right? I go up to me and there's a mysterious thing saying merchant outbox. And basically you drag your folders in that area and send to the marketplace, which could not sound easier, could it?
Well...
Yeah, Tawny Linden has released a video on this. Jessie, can you shine any light on this mystery?
So, I mean, I noticed a change myself, and I thought to myself thinking, they can, half the time when people load sometimes your inventory doesn't load, so how you can actually go and look and go find stuff, and I know they're thinking that this is supposed to be absolutely, great idea, but I'm totally with everyone else, and I think, one part of Second Life is in-world shopping, and, constantly, beefing up the marketplace or actually breaking it is not helping anyone, actually. Not helping, content creators, not helping, people to have that whole in-world shopping experience.
Oh, this is hilarious. As I cammed in to watch you speak, Jessie, and I was listening to what you said, so I got a better thing. What has just come up over your face is marketplace initialization failed. Initialization with the marketplace failed because of a system or network error. Try again later. That's literally just come up over your face.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's also talk about, like perfect timing or whatever.
They did announce marketplace problems on Twitter about an hour ago, actually, which made me laugh, knowing that we're going to be discussing it.
An hour ago, but this has been going on all weekend. All right, guys, you're all sitting there. We're shoppers on the whole, content creators to an extent. When do you shop? What are your busiest days for selling? What are the busiest days in Second Life? Would it be Saturday and Sunday?
I think they do a lot of weekend traffic, but before answering now, so that's just to say how uninspiring the marketplace is anyway. It always has been, but this just makes it worse. When you shop in World, you can go into a shop, you can look at the product, you can walk around it, or you can try on a demo. You can get a real feel for what you're buying. It's a virtual world. We're buying virtual goods. This is the whole point of it. This is what engages us. You go to that boring old website type marketplace, you can't even see the objects in 3D. Even some supermarkets on the web these days allow you to scan around the product in 3D to get a good look at it. It's very old school. And the fact that it's old school and doesn't function really is a bit of an insult to, the idea of promoting a virtual world. I think it's far better. It does have the advantages of when it's working, that is, being able to look up something quick, and then, occasionally I'll find something there and I think, well, what the hell, while I'm here, I'll just have a browse. But normally I just like the feeling of going around in worlds, seeing shops, seeing models with the clothes on. Before you buy them, trying demos, this sort of thing. And you can't do that on the marketplace anyway.
Well, I still haven't found a yacht. Sorry, Sigmund.
Well, actually, before I say the comment I was going to do, I did in fact just type in yacht, and I discovered that the most expensive yacht appears to be 30,000 lindens, which is way above what I would spend, and I'm not even sure I could fit it on my land, but just in case people are curious, apparently you can now go in and buy yachts. There are 800 and something entries per yacht now available, so whoever had the one yacht at the weekend has lost their marketing advantage, and they better start doing something very rapidly to catch back up there. To me the marketplace is a little bit like shopping on Amazon. You go there, you sort of know what you're looking for to get some details, but I still want to go to Barnes and Nobles and wander around the bookstore, because here's the other thing that a bookstore does very well, which is as you're looking at books on a shelf, you see lots of other books you wouldn't have even thought about buying. Mm-hmm. And Amazon typically gives you like 2 or 3 suggestions which are based on your previous purchases. But actually what I like about a bookstore is that I can find books that are not based on any previous purchase whatsoever. It's just a whim and a fancy. And you can do that in Second Life. You go to a store and you'll see something on a whim and a fancy and you say, oh, shoot, didn't think about that. I might just go and buy that instead. Whereas when you look at something like an organized website like the marketplace, things are a little compartmentalized. So although it has a place, and I again, as I said, I do use it, there are things it misses, and it's that excitement of finding something by chance, that sort of serendipitous moment is the phrase I'll use, because I dare.
And all those ladies who'd like to have a serendipitous moment with Sigmund Leominster can drop me a note card and see if he'll buy you a present. Which brings us to subject 2, quite neatly in a way, with what's ahead virtually for 2012. It's probably the world's most boring subject, or title, I should say. But is there anything interesting going on? I'm going to hand over to Sigmund.
Oh, well... is there anything interesting in I don't know, because it's like this, every year you get this prediction of what's going to happen, and then come the end of the year, people then pontificate about all their hits and then forget about their misses on this one. So I'm always a little skeptical or dubious of any of these predictions about what will happen. But I don't know. I'd be very excited to see some movements towards 3D types of things, and whether that will happen, I don't know. But 3D immersion stuff's now available, sort of. Sony have a 3D thing, and we've got folks like Microsoft may be coming out with 3D headset type things, and I'd be curious to see how that works running with Second Life on a computer. So whether that happens this year, don't know, but I'd like to see that coming.
Mal, Jessie, what do you think? Let's go with Jessie. Ladies first, please.
Pleasure.
Well, one thing I actually know about, and I've actually been to a real life conference on this, and that's, speaking of changes, are, the coming of HTML5, which is going to actually change how the web is going to be rendered. Lots of companies are sort of coming out against Flash. Microsoft's new browser is not going to be supporting Flash. It's actually going to be more geared to the mobile look to it. Flash has its ups and downs and has its pluses and minuses. Obviously a lot of video we use are actually with Flash, but HTML5 is actually supposed to make it where the rendering of the video and plugins is supposed to be lessened, and most of the work is supposed to be done with the coding. Being a real life educator, I'm more concerned about accessibility purposes with this change, and also concerned about sort of the cost. I mean, if we have most of our materials in Flash and that's what we're using, what's it going to mean for us to be able to convert everything over?
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's very interesting because when we're looking ahead virtually, shall we say, for the rest of the year, it really is a wide brief. I mean, I usually put it in context of what we call the Metaverse. It's sort of immersive spaces, but as you say, Jessie, the impact of mobile technology, iPads and things, is changing the whole interfacing landscape. And Microsoft just last week demonstrated a 3D version of Windows where it uses touch and sensor technology for you to pull and push windows open, which looks rather like that Minority Report thing seen in that old movie. But there is an astonishing amount happening. I think during the course of the year we will actually see, we're now getting very advanced game interfaces. Even some old favorites I missed are on the iPad. I think we will see more interactive world type things that become very much more portable. But we're also seeing a huge rise in the number of open sims. We're seeing competitors to InWorld's Avanation and stuff who are direct walled garden competitors to Second Life. Just in the last week, there were two major announcements from projects that have taken up Open Wonderland, which many people forget about as their sort of core functionality. There is Unity 3D and Jibe putting worlds on the web, although they're not exactly teleportable between variously. And of course on OpenSim there is the hypergrid, which is going by leaps and bounds. The security is improving, it's easier to use, and if you're an educator, for example, you can actually have a sim on a stick on your home computer or in a classroom, where the whole thing is offline, but you can hypergrid enable it so that your students, for example, can be mucking around on, let's say, 4 sims that are the school sims, for one, assuming it's a school. And, if they need to visit an event that's happening on the open sims, the hypergrid will let them teleport out of the school grounds, so to speak, onto the public grids. And I think this whole system of working is going to, be a big thing, even though I do see, a lot of corporations and things like that still keeping their conferences and even their R&D behind firewalls. But, for the public-facing stuff, I think we're going to, hop around a lot more and hopefully interface via mobile, when we can't be in a full environment. So
now I've got going on in the background here, Malvern, so I don't know whether you've been seeing it, but there is a discussion going on here with Jessie and Sigmund in my background where they're talking about the mobile apps. Now you two can say this out loud, please.
Well, we could say it, but we didn't want to interrupt Mal because people like to listen to Mal. Well, actually, my comment was just that in terms of we were having this background discussion about mobile apps, and how well can Second Life be accessed on mobile apps, and the answer at the moment is pretty badly. In fact, crap would be the one. But I was mentioning that it's possible, technically, to use something like a remote access program on, say, an iPad, something like Splashtop. And what you can do is connect your iPad via the internet to your home computer. And if you run your desktop Second Life browser on your home computer, you can run that on your iPad, and it's at a distance. Now, the performance is not exactly stellar, let's put it that way, but you can see that technically these things are beginning to happen, and what that's doing is a little bit like what we were saying earlier. Is it's leveraging the technology in unusual words. We're talking about HTML5 as an example, but here we're just talking about remote connection to a server. So there's opportunities there. But Jessie was saying that she wouldn't touch an iPad with a stick, so she had some different ideas.
You can say what you want. I mean, not to go make the Mac lovers out there more upset or whatever. But let's face it. There are some iPad and iPhone apps for Second Life. I have 2 of the Android apps, and they're just absolutely it's just rubbish. But what I would love to see, because I am a tablet user, is a more sort of like a Second Life version light, where you can actually still see things. Oh God, are they starting to
They can't do that.
They can't. They can't, can they?
Oh my God, I can't believe they
Ladies and gentlemen,
we might have to take an advert break because somebody is restarting a sim somewhere. Oh no, it's cancelled.
Oh, so, that was a mock presentation.
Don't you love Linden Labs? There is a wonderful thing.
It was Linden Labs, was it?
Oh, there is actually a rather wonderful thing there. What you were saying. I actually have been using an iPad since late last year, the older one. You can use it with Apple TV, for example, and as Sigmund said, you can connect to your computers. You can actually send information from the device to any other devices you got around. And I imagine some people are watching this program right now. You can watch it on an iPad, and you can press a button and send it to a giant screen TV at the same time, instead of watching it in a little web window.
And I look wonderful in 42 inches.
The technology that does that is what we were just talking about, HTML5. Basically anything at Vimeo or at YouTube or at Livestream, the mobile versions write it as HTML5 instead of Flash. And, all the sensible companies, in my opinion, have already taken this into account and are doing it.
Well, all right, I'm going to mention there was an announcement by Spot on 3D, which is a closed world, I think at the end of last week, saying that they'd gone on iPad app. Has anybody tried that?
I've searched for it. I can't find it anywhere. And I read a news release from them because they're actually changing their name to WorldWorks or something odd.
Well, they're doing their business side is going to be WorldWorks, isn't it?
Yeah. And later on in the press release, they said that they had hired somebody. I think her name's Beverly or something, but I can swear to that. Who is there? Who has experience in developing for Apple or something, and her job is to write this iOS app. As far as I know, there isn't one yet. In fact, I did a search just in case, and nothing's shown up on the iPad store. But there are quite a few, as I said, Myst and Ribbon have just been released, which are some old classic games, which are very immersive, world-like experiences. And when they launched the iPad 3, they actually brought in some game companies to demonstrate the graphics. And, there's a few interface changes. You don't have a mouse. So, for example, you've got to rely on an interface that uses the touchscreen and everything. But a lot of them are working pretty damn well, in my opinion.
Well, Jessie, come on. You're saying something here about SL having something that others don't, I think, is what you're saying.
They have Pocket Metaverse.
No, I was saying, well, what it was, I've gone to other worlds as an educator, investigating, helping out other universities, and Second Life has something that the rest of them don't. And that's concurrency, that's numbers. I mean, you go to other worlds, you look on the map and you see, or maybe whopping 30 people on, or you see 1 or 2 people on, and you think to yourself, all right, this is nice, but, if you're a content creator, or a merchant, you're looking for money. And, Second Life is where the people are. I mean, I think the only other place that's all beating them with numbers is IMVU, but that's totally different. That's more of a 2D sort of wannabe 3D sort of chat room, but not to offend any users, but it's not the same as here where you can walk around.
Well, yeah, I mean, I still describe Second Life as the high street of the metaverse because, it's where you find the shops, it's where you find the gigs and things like that. But it's like in a real high street, you don't walk into a shop and expect to see the factory too, or the boardroom conferences. So, I mean, as a teacher, I would think you probably would see a purpose in OpenSim for things like classrooms, where for exactly the reason that there isn't a huge concurrency in one place. With the hypergrid, you can move around to places with greater concurrency rather. And I think the trick really for me is I try to view the OpenSims, or rather the hypergrid, as one whole unit of concurrency. And when you add it all up, everybody online in all those grids that are interconnected, then actually you are reaching fairly high concurrency, not on any individual grid at any given time, but all those massive numbers of OpenSims now. It doesn't compete with Second Life, but it's not to be, laughed at. I mean, get a couple more years and it could well talk about equal concurrency.
I think that the thing is, isn't it, with anything that starts up, you've got to take a punt. And it's not just the grid owners who are taking the punt, then the content creators have to, and when I say taking a punt, just for any Americans, it means take the risk, to jump in, really, and take the risk, to put your money where your mouth is, really. And so is it, which chicken and egg? You were talking about this, Jesse, who goes first, the content creators or the punters, the community? And really, the community likes, on the whole, to walk into something, and the content creators like to build. They're the pioneers. So ultimately, it always seems to me that if you want to earn money, you have to put your goods out there first, and build it, and they will come.
Indeed.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on here. And we've been joined now by Vickster Kuhn, who is looking very glamorous in her dress uniform. Welcome, Vickster, to the show.
Hello, thank you.
And you were flying in the fly past, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I flew the F-18.
Wow. I don't know. We're going to be doing something very exciting later on, which we will be putting in to the program later on. But I'm going to come to you, Jessie, to explain just why we're here and what we're looking at behind us. It's a very beautiful memorial.
Part of the reason why we're here is what I wanted to do was, I hear a lot of people saying in Second Life, they don't have a lot, to do in Second Life. And, I was thinking of, when I started working here last month, I noticed all the military aspects of things. There was the planes flying, there was the combat. And I thought, this is something that really needs to be sort of showcased, to everyone else in Second Life. And there's so many people who don't really know about, the aviation, the military combat, everything what they do here. So I thought about it and said, why not have some sort of, expo to bring a lot of military content creators, in one spot so that people who normally don't role play or participate in this sort of thing can actually see it. So what you see, the result, the military expo is what was also my idea of trying to bring everyone together.
So the military expo is at one end of one of the sims, isn't it? But the sims exist for flying, effectively.
Right. I mean, basically it's, the flying tigers are housed here. You have obviously the World War II base. You have the tribute sim, which is World War II base for the main bases, and then up in the sky you have the Marvin base, which is the Air Force base. And then what the sim we're sitting on here now is actually, scale replica of World War II Memorial, which is actually in Washington, D.C.
So whose idea was all this originally? I mean...
Oh, my gosh.
That was
Whose idea was it originally? That's the hugest question.
Oh my
Well,
God. Yes, go for it.
I can tell you that our General Giano, is the man who originally created the Flying Tigers himself.
Now, Flying Tigers are what?
And, well, the Flying Tigers are a flying group, basically, that want to do military RP and military-style things. It's made up of so many different kinds of people, veterans and friends of veterans and people who just like combat and people who just like airplanes. There's so many different types of people that are actually in our group.
Now,
But
the Flying Tigers are a
group
specific
does-
group, aren't they, that they were named after? I've got
Oh,
here
yes.
that it was the original first volunteer group. Is that right? The Aviation Volunteer Group?
That's right. It was made up of American flyers from different services prior to World War II, and they were volunteers. They were discharged from the military, and they went and joined this group that were stationed in China, and their job was to protect the trade routes in China against the Japanese attacks. This was before America joined World War II, even before I think the major allies were involved. It was prior to December 7th when America officially joined the war. So these guys were technically, you could call them mercenaries, but that's not really right, because they actually discharged themselves from the military and they went there because they felt that, they wanted to serve America at that time. And it was done by presidential order, so it wasn't your standard mercenary arrangement. It was actually an official act.
It was the same in the UK, I believe. We had American servicemen over here long before America officially joined the war. They were here sort of in their own right because they believed in the cause.
Absolutely. They had the same thing in World War I with other countries, and you see Canadian volunteer groups way before any of those countries were actually involved in the war. They had volunteer groups involved.
Mm.
Can you tell me something? I mean, you have a phenomenal amount of different planes here, aeroplanes, right? Somebody is sitting there building these. Where do they come from? Who's building them?
Oh my gosh. There are so many people that build airplanes, and there are so many excellent models. I don't even know where to start, really.
You don't know where to start.
Is that I don't. If you saw my inventory, you wouldn't believe it. I have well over 300 airplanes now from different builders. Some of them I bought. Some of them have been given to me. Most of them I bought. But many of them have been given to me also. And it's almost impossible even for me to sort them out. If I could put on the hugest show ever just with my planes. There's no Sims that could possibly support how many planes I have in my inventory. I couldn't res them. I'd need like 5 Sims to do it,
Like my buildings.
You've got people from all over, haven't
I'm
you?
not the only one like that either.
Yeah.
I'm not really special. I'm not a special case. There's so many people that are like that. And there's so many people that build airplanes, really good airplanes, and they just do it because they love that airplane, or they love to build, or they love planes.
So, yeah, go on, Mal.
Oh, actually, I was just going to comment loosely here. I mean, there are actually, on the open sims we were talking about, there are actually aviation sims, they just take the space and they, they've got a lot more space, a lot more prims, so they can res all these things. And
That's an advert.
No, it's just a comment, really. But the thing that I've suddenly occurred to me is we've almost come full circle. I know this is a tribute sim, and it's absolutely lovely and wonderful. But the aviation industry in the real world really were pioneers in many ways of virtual environments. I mean, they were one of the first sort of professions to, I'm not talking about Microsoft Flight Simulator, but, trained pilots, used to train using virtual simulations. Some of them even are in Second Life running like virtual Dublin and things. It's they really were in the forefront of all this. So it's quite significant. We're talking about aviation, I think.
Well, I think that Jesse, isn't the sim owner quite interested in building here? Tell us about the sim owner. What kind of person is he that opens up a sim in order to fly planes and teaches people to fly planes? And
I think anyone who in Second Life who, these sims here are non-commercial, and I think anyone in Second Life who has non-commercial sims is a very generous person. I mean, we're lucky to have these sims and adjacent ones to be able to fly on. Sim owner is very, 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 very dedicated to what he does and absolutely loves, this place and these sims. You can actually see that. As I was trying, to mention earlier, he does make his own sort of aircraft. He has an aircraft company in Second Life, Next Gen Aviation, and they make a variety of World War II and modern aircraft. Some of which I think you might have seen when we were opening the program. You've seen some of the pilots actually flying those.
So who is this mysterious person?
He's all sitting out in the audience. He's all sitting there,
Unfortunately, he would have been on the stage, but his plane was late. So there's nothing we could do about that, I'm afraid. Sigmund, you've gone very quiet. Does this, the mention of planes horrify you?
No, actually, funnily enough, you sort of just answered the question that was on the tip of my tongue there, which was, I have, 512 square meters of land in Second Life, which means I could buy a plane and then promptly sit in it for as long as I liked. So the thrill of actually flying, you need space. So if somebody wanted to actually fly a plane in Second Life, where would they go to do that? And I think you've answered it, we could come here. But is that the way it is? If people really want to experience flying in Second Life, surely they have to find a big sim and get the opportunity there.
You can learn here, can't you? You can have lessons.
Yeah, we have an academy here. I mean, they can learn basically from the ground up, how to fly a plane, military protocol, that sort of thing. Or if you already know how to fly, then you can, come to our sims and just, get your plane out, res, and take off you go, basically.
Now this is.
Do you
fly a real plane? I want to learn to fly a real plane. How would I'm having enough trouble flying a virtual one. I can hear my cameraman guffawing in my ear as I speak. He was rather hoping that I was going to fly a plane and he could, show you how ridiculous I am. But I'm going to be flown by a very handsome pilot later. I know this because, I asked. But can you learn to fly a real plane here in Second Life, do you think? I have been on one of those machines that teach pilots how to fly, those virtual machines. I was very, very lucky. I was in a circumstance where I could do that, and 3 of us did it, and we were there all night because we just couldn't put it down. It was a very big toy, and it was very lovely, and I crashed at Hong Kong. Yeah, well,
You couldn't put the plane down? Was that?
I could not put this virtual cockpit down. It was just too fab. Jesse, can we learn here?
Well, I'm not really, entirely sure. To me this is a simulation. I think you could learn some basic controls, but, I don't know if I want to fly with a pilot who only learned in Second Life, sort of, so to speak. I don't really know. Then again, I've been on some scary real-life flights too, and you think, where did they learn to fly? I think, I have spoken
to say, to be honest, you can't really, it's not the perfect simulation for flying. The reason it's in SL is more than just the flying. Obviously, we love to fly, but also we have a community here that you can't have in a video game. Because we know each other, and we have ranks, we have... people know us, you know, because we're here. It's a community. It's a military community. Above also the love of flying and having all these aviation things that are in SL that we can build. But it's not the best video game platform, and so you don't get the best flight simulation that you would get in a video game. Some peculiarities are with SL flying that don't exist in other flight simulators or in real life. Definitely, you could not learn to fly in SL, but you could love to fly in SL and learn to fly because you love it so much. That's what I'm doing.
It's one of the strengths of Second Life, isn't it? Above any other platform, the community. I mean, you can, you know, that really doesn't exist anywhere else.
Well, let's talk about the community. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask another slightly technical question related to what Dousa was asking, and that is, I know, because I've got a couple of them, I don't think you really call them sort of super planes or anything, but you do actually get these objects that you can wear as opposed to res. And in association with a heads-up display, you can actually fly. Because you're wearing it, it doesn't count as prims on the Sims. So you can actually, it's like wearing a costume really, except the costume is the plane, and you can actually therefore fly over a great deal of space. Yeah. Do you have those as well, do you? Yeah.
Oh, yes. The reason was because SL vehicles can only have so many prims originally, and so it was difficult to simulate a plane with all its little parts with that many prims, so they used to make attachments that would fit your body to supplement the rest of the plane that they had built.
Yeah.
And they've sort of minimized that more and more because sculpted prims and everything, they could get less and less of them. So now you see more of the time it'll be just the weapons attachments, like the missiles under the wings will be attached to the avatar, and the rest is the vehicle.
Right, so that actually gives you a lot more freedom to move around, doesn't it, then? So.
Right. Well, the thing is that they want to have really nice models, but sometimes you can't really build a really nice detailed model with the SL limitations, so that's how they got around it. And now we see that sculpted prims and mesh models are able to defeat that. So those are probably going to be less and less common in the future.
Yeah, I've seen amazing stuff where this is the classic case of actually creators now moving off-world to create things like mesh and whatever, and then import them in their entirety into Second Life. And I've seen some amazing vehicles and everything built that way. Welcome back, Dousa.
Thank you very much.
The whole thing.
I'm just wondering who makes up the community, basically. I'm wondering who makes up the actual community, because, of course, it's giving people much more opportunity here, isn't it, to have access.
Well, this is special because these people can come and build a military career in this world.
Basically, it's you know, what I've noticed in actually studying, because all this is new to me, is that, you know, you have various aviation communities. I mean, we're just one part of like a larger Second Life aviation community. I mean, you can find, you know, mainland airports, you can find, you know, state private airports, you can find various aviation groups who don't actually have a home, but they're just, you know, here and there, different places, and it's so much. And we have, you know, people that work here that are part of a large aviation community, part of some of these groups, part of some of these different types of sims. So it's just so spread out, so, you know, somewhat spread out, fragmented, but still they manage to sort of get together and still, you know, role play or, you know, have a group or a unit or something together.
I'm seeing a lot of Sims here, and let's talk about the role play side of it, because you've got very specifically World War II role play.
Well, it's more of, it's more what we do here is more sort of like lighter role play. I mean, you do have the military. Obviously, look at Vicky here, her uniform, and she's a brigadier general there. They do have their titles, their military customs, and that sort of thing. But it's sort of light role play in the fact that, you know, we don't ban furries. And that is something that you notice in some role-playing sims, that they're very strict about that, and they don't want anyone that's non-human. But we sort of keep it light, but you still have the military protocol and you still have to do the customs and everything else.
So if people want to come along and they want to be part of this community, how do they go about it?
Well, they join the group. Then they can decide if they just want to be an aviator who gets all the notices for all of our events, and they can come fly when they want to, and they don't have to come fly when they don't want to. And then certain people want to go to the academy and take on a military-style role in our groups with our different squadrons. We have about 7 active squadrons right now, spread across World War II and modern aviation, and also rescue with helicopters and a demonstration team with aerobatic flight. There's military and non-military roles. The whole idea is it's set up like an actual military unit at that point, but we don't. It's not like the real military where you have to be everywhere they tell you to be. It's still a group of people who want to do this, and that's why we're all here. But we do follow a kind of a military code, and we have our military way of doing things and how we administrate our groups.
Okay.
So we have our chain of command and all that sort of thing, and it is set up like a real military organization. The idea
if
is
somebody's
we're
naughty, then what happens to them?
Oh, well, if somebody's naughty, they get reported, and then it goes up the chain of command until somebody decides what the best course of action is. And then, when that decision is made, that's what happens.
Do they get an appeal, or do they have to appear? Yeah, they appear in front of.
Sometimes, if it's something where it has to be really addressed by the command, then we could actually put on a court-martial, but that's not something we would want to do.
I quite fancy doing that in Metaverse.
Knew you were going to say
Well,
that.
it's a great role-playing opportunity if that happens. It's an awesome role-playing opportunity for anybody who wants to. But the reality is, most of the time, people just don't really get in really bad trouble, and it's something where somebody gets mad and says something bad, and it's a drama thing that we just deal with day to day. And people apologize when they're done being mad, just like anywhere else. We're not quite as extreme where we would take people's rank away or things like that. It would have to be something really terrible for that to happen. It hardly ever does.
Oh, so, well, that's really interesting. So there's going to be a lot of talk about that after the program's finished, believe me, ladies and gentlemen. But it's we're coming up to the end now, and I'm really grateful for our guests for turning up. And I just want to say, is there anything you'd like to say, Jessie, in closing?
I do want to thank, Dousa, you in particular, and all the Metaverse crew for being so patient with us and actually coming here and broadcasting our program. And we really do appreciate you spotlighting this. So thank you so much from all of us.
Oh, thank you. And what about you, Vickster?
Well, I'd just like to thank you guys for coming. I'm so glad we got this opportunity to show our group to the rest of SL. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'm just going to say that at the end of this program, you will be seeing something that you don't normally see on our programs. But I am not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to watch later. But it will involve Mal Burns and Sigmund Leominster and myself. And so I'm going to ask Mal Burns and Sigmund Leominster for their last words, please.
I was going to say that I'm still a big child at heart, and I think I now know where I can get to fly a jet fighter, and this sounds like the place for me.
How about you, Mal?
Well, I was just thinking, looking in my inventory for the virtual Valium because it doesn't always agree with me. But no, this is a wonderful place, and yeah, thank you to both our guests. It's been fascinating. So I'm looking forward to what's coming next, sort of.
Okay, well, I'm not saying any more than that, except that I delight in basically torturing my fellow presenters here. So out with your brown paper bags, chaps. And we're going to say thank you very much, Jessie, and thank you very much, Vickster. And thank you very much, Guarocuyo Giano.
Thank you so much.
Who's sitting very notably on the front row here, and is the owner of the sim, and it's his kind allowance that's allowed us here today. So thank you, guys. And okay, guys, we'll be off then, will we? To the airfield. See you later. And Metaverse Live will be back with or without us in 2 weeks' time. And we'll see you then and let you know how it was. Take care. Bye-bye.
Fahrzeuge, panzerabwehr, Kanonen, Geschütze, schwere und leichte Waffen in Menge und Panzer, die sich in ihrer vollendeten Konstruktion an allen Fronten bewährt haben. Tiger und Panther.
I don't know if you've got an having to shoot. So,
wow, somebody just went down in flames, literally.
It's me, is it?
Die neue Kraft wird dem Fronten ein neues Gesicht geben.
Well, him going down in flames.